Everybody, welcome back to Too Many Men. My name is Alison Lucan. I am delighted to be joined by, now listen, I'm not going to spoil the surprise. It's coming later in this episode, but we praise this individual's creativity and writing prowess all the time, but this might be one of her most genius and also inclusive and giving back ideas ever. It's coming later in the episode. Just wait for it. The incomparable Sara Sivian. Sara, how the hell are you?
I'm good. Well, it was Shayna's idea to start with, and I just decided to expand on it. So that's when all of our best collective ideas happen.
See, and that's on -1 on me. That's me not
Yeah.
following the chat fully. That's, of course, it was Shayna's idea. We would not be Too Many Men without. Now, I want to just say, I went back through and I was like, what's Shayna been up to this week? Shayna released a whole new launch of upcycled clothing, has a whole thing on Kiefer Sherwood, had like 11 billion on-air appearances, and still comes up with genius ideas and makes time for our show. Shayna, say hi.
Hi.
You have one -1 though, and we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. But no, I feel like it's fitting us thinking like this was Sarah's idea because no one could take what we're going to do, and turn it into what she's going to turn it into. She is the voice we all need and crave. So like, I'm honored that I could think of something.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, right. Like,
We'll do our best to fuck it up, is what we're.
Yeah.
We're hyping everyone up, and it's like, listen, we have a point. We have a point, and everyone's gonna hear it. It's like, this is it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, before we get to this idea that we're really, really hyping up to ourselves, we're very proud of ourselves, as we should be with our lady brains. We must start with the most important things. And Sara, what are those?
Bits O News.
Okay, that might actually be better, Shayna, because for those of you who are obviously not in the pre-game prep here, Shayna just spent an inordinately long amount of time trying to find the original beater. And I feel that this might be karma because we tried to adjust the levels on the triangle last episode, but it was quite loud. So maybe this is the universe coming for you to say, let's go with a little bit of a quiet beater on the triangle. How do you feel about that?
I feel like that's a fair point because it's like I feel like I've either been disorganized or underestimating the power of the triangle.
Oh, interesting. Good
And
point.
I definitely went too close to the mic last time. That's why I was like, let me slide it further away.
It's technique, of course.
I don't have it yet, but I'm gonna listen. You guys are gonna be like, oh, how's she feeling her week next week? I'm gonna have 20-minute triangle lessons. I'm gonna get myself a little music stand and I'm ready to go. But I mean, Zoom started, and where was I? I'm crawling on the floor, looking under my shelves for this triangle beater. So
if
one day.
If I didn't respect the integrity of our privacy of that time, I would have hit record just to have the footage because it was spectacular. I'm not gonna lie.
Popping up, I'm sure, like a little dog coming
well, just
up,
half
like,
your head was like visible, like right in the bottom of the frame. It was quite glorious.
I mean, I thought it was there, and then I thought it was somewhere else, and I don't know. Like, it's so funny because I feel like I look so put together based on like my shelves, and then it's like the rest of my office, because I sew in here, is just a train wreck that nobody ever needs to see.
That's why we have shelves.
Yeah.
Have no shelf. Yeah.
Corner.
Why wasn't it on the shelf? You should have put it back on the shelf.
The triangle's on the shelf. I thought it was there. I thought because I think
a place for everything and everything in its place.
I try to, but last podcast when we were done with it, I just like threw it on the floor right here.
See?
And I think I was just like, let me just get it out of the way. And I put the triangle on the shelf, but I thought the beater was with it. But now I see there's a gap in the shelf where the shelf meets the wall. And I think I need like chopsticks to pull whatever is back there out because it's a sliver. So this is now a new mission.
All right. Let's get on with it. We have lots to discuss. All right, friends, it is time for Bit O News, as Sara told us, 20 minutes ago before we went on the dialogue of the triangle and its missing beater. Lots going on and lots of different stuff that maybe we didn't expect. We've been focusing on a lot of injuries, and we have some of those too, but perhaps the biggest, most latest news comes out of the Metropolitan Division. The Columbus Blue Jackets announced that they have fired Dean Evison. He had one more year left on his contract, plus an option, is what's being reported, and bring in Rick Bowness, who was apparently on his boat in the Florida Keys because he had literally told us all, 2 years ago, he was done with hockey and was retired. But here we are. Rick Bowness comes back to Columbus. I'm just going to say this, and Columbus people, I love you, but like, the man comes in, he runs like a 10-minute practice on a game day. They beat the Calgary Flames in what was actually a very emotional game, obviously, for the Gaudreau family and those who love and support them. And like, people are like, oh, look, Rick Bowness already making an impact. I'm like, people, he ran like a 10-minute morning skate. but anyway, there's Evison being taken away from the role. There's Bowness coming in, and interestingly, as it's been reported, is only under contract for the balance of the season. And then the organization is going to see what they want to do next. Sara, on a surprise-o-meter, where does this rank for you? And what do you think of this move overall?
A surprise 7 out of 10, I think. Maybe I just wasn't paying that much attention because the Blue Jackets are supposed to be rebuilding, but there's never the wrong time to kind of get the right guy. I'm sure Waddell and Rick Bowness, have like a relationship because they're both like jolly little hockey guys, is how I would describe them, like harmless, good, like decent ones. So we like that. It's hilarious that everybody after coaching the Winnipeg Jets says, listen, I'm never doing hockey again. We're not doing this again. And they're found on a boat or deep sea fishing to be in hockey again. Paul Maurice, you saw it happen to him. So I'm not that surprised because Bowness is a great coach. Honestly, people do over exaggerate it's not really about the first practice back, especially a coach like him, I'd say, but like, it's kind of more about the overarching vibe. So it's probably good that they got him in, not right, like he's going to be able to maybe help the vibes like throughout until it's time to be relevant again. I like it. I think it's hilarious that it's like people are done with the Jets and then they come back.
Well, Shayna, there's a lot that's said to be on the list of things to do. And as Sara mentioned, there's relationships all over the place. Lawrence Gilman, who just joined the front office, also new bones from their time in Vancouver. But of the many mandates, we're hearing more defensive structure, letting the young guys continue to develop instead of stagnate. What do you think are the things that Rick Bowness needs to focus on first for Columbus? And can he get them back in the postseason conversation?
I think the expectations are going to be like the biggest thing to navigate here because last year going into the season, no one thought the Blue Jackets would do literally anything, right? It was like, this is a young team and they have to like find their own footing and obviously weather some like really incredibly challenging like situations that were going on off the ice too. So the fact that they were had this like Cinderella run, it changes the bar a little bit for what was expected of them this year. And sometimes that happens with these like up and coming teams that were like, oh my God, they're going to take this next leap and they're going to be a part of the playoff picture. And it's like, we didn't think that a year ago. It's just they surprised. And now all of a sudden we've changed their timeline when maybe like it didn't change after all. So that's going to be the tricky part of this. Like, are they a playoff team right now? Like, I'm really not sure. But then again, a change in special teams, because that's been holding him back over the last year, and adding some defensive structure could go a long way. And Bowness, it feels like in his career has been in this position before. Like I was looking it up and technically he's a 7-time NHL head coach, but he's been an interim head coach or, a mid-season replacement numerous times, which brings up that number, even if he didn't stay on. So I am a little bit more intrigued here to see someone just to right the ship and like set it up for the next person, or maybe he needs to see if he wants to be back in, the grind of all of this. But I don't think of him as the most like new age and innovative coach, but he is a defensive specialist. You did see the work that went in Winnipeg, a team that really needed it. And obviously wheels have kind of come off since, and we'll get there. But I think he could add a good element of defensive structure. I'm curious to see how much he can maximize the young guys, because I don't think that's been like a trademark of his career, but there are a lot of young players in Columbus, so you can't avoid it. And if he can help stabilize things a bit here, because it's a lot of coaching turnover over the last few years. I mean, since Tortorella left, look how many different coaches there have been in Columbus. And it just feels like that plus a young team, like we've made fun of Buffalo and Edmonton for less. So I'm not saying we should be dunking on the Blue Jackets because we shouldn't be, but it's something to keep in mind too. Like, do they go for now a 6th option, a seventh option, and say this is just a temporary thing, I don't know. Will that make the situation better or worse?
Well, Columbus, you have work to do. We'll see if Bones is the guy to help you do it. Let's keep on the Blue Jackets sort of thread and talk about a player who used to play there, and that's Alexander Texier, who honestly was kind of a fringe player, had high hopes for him, never really seemed to fully blossom, moves to St. Louis and then moves to Montreal. And maybe it's just the French of it all. Who's to say? For those of you who aren't already aware, Texier is from France, not French speaking Canadian, from actual France. Seems to have found a new home and signs an extension for 2 years, 2.5 million AAV to stay with the Habs. This is an organization that seems to be starting to putting it together, and another young-ish chip now is in the fold. Sarah, do you like this deal?
Sure. Yeah, like we'll see how it all plays out. It's a fine deal. I'm not really. It's kind of the things we're expecting before the Olympics, right? Where it's kind of like not the stars that are expected to be at the Olympics, but it's kind of the soft trade deadline.
Shayna?
I like it. I feel like this is the kind of player Montreal has like gone after, right? Like these reclamation projects, it's a low risk, high reward kind of thing. They see how he looks with the team, and then it's like, okay, this is worth having around, even if he doesn't stick on the top line with Suzuki and Caulfield, but like he makes sense there because they really just need a passenger to play with the two big guns to keep that lineup balance. And, being able to keep Demidov and Slavkovsky on different lines allows them to have a much deeper approach than last year. So that works. And if not, and he moves down to the third line, I feel like you would rather see a player like that get the chance there than some, 33-year-old you had for a year here or there in free agency. It just feels like it goes with the general theme of this entire process for them. So why not? It works, and so far he's been really good. You look at that top line, and obviously it stands out. He had a hat trick last Thursday, but also their underlying numbers are really positive over this span. And even though they probably can't keep up with this scoring rate, there's some elements that you're like, I could see this working out in the long run. So, sure, why not go off Montreal?
Well, a team that is most definitely not going off, Sarah, the New York Rangers. In the last 3 games, they have been outscored 22-8. 22-8, including a 10-2 loss in Boston. JT Miller doesn't know what to say. Now we've got different opinions coming out of the locker room of if it's fixable, if it's not fixable, if they care, if they don't care. This is a team that brought in Mike Sullivan, was supposed to be contending, and now they sit at 27th in the league. They are bested only by the Vancouver Canucks for the worst record on home ice, and they are 2-6-2 in their last 10 with a whopping, speaking to your heart, Sarah, -21 goal differential. How cooked are the New York Rangers?
Yep, let's pack it up, especially because, look, Shesterkin and Fox are out. Fox was doing well and finally kind of got back in his groove, and it's like, your biggest problem is defense, and when your world-class goaltender and your top defenseman are both out indefinitely, I don't know the update on that, the last time I checked. Yeah, the vibes are bad. So a 5-game losing streak. They were struggling before. It just kind of goes to show sometimes moving everything possible isn't going to fix you. It doesn't mean it was the wrong decision, right? Because I don't think they were going to be that successful even with the same team. But what are you doing? JT Miller's the captain. He just got here. I don't know. It's like a lot. It's too many variables, I think, to be able to pinpoint one thing. And then the defense, which has been the exact problem, is injured and just not clicking the way you'd think. I don't know. Too many men. And also now it's like, all right, it's going to be, the trade deadline is going to be really slim pickings for the buyers because there's so many buyers and we're confused about how many people are going to be sellers or not because there's so much parity in the league right now. I think it's a good opportunity for the Rangers to maybe sell and get the most out of their players.
And Shayna, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you, because you look at a team like the Rangers, you say they're probably out of it, but they're also an older roster and an older roster of players who aren't necessarily performing. Tell us assuming the Rangers become sellers, tell us your top pieces they have to move that other teams will actually want at the deadline. Top 2 or 3.
Panarin is definitely up there because through all of this, like you look at New York and you go, there's 3 capable forwards right now that are performing well, and it's Zibanejad, Panarin, and Noah Laba. So pending UFA Panarin, that makes a lot of sense. And there's not a lot of wingers on the market. And also, we're not seeing those like top end wingers make it to free agency. So if a team actually likes him and want to think about a longer term deal or even just any sort of contract, you kind of have to get in early. So him and then Vincent Trocheck is going to be a really interesting one because he had a no movement clause that downgraded to a modified no trade clause. So now they have some flexibility to move him. And while he has disappointed this year and last year, he still is under $6 million as like a second line center. He's a playoff player, and I think in a better situation he could get back on his game too. So those are the top 2. Everyone else, it's like you could find players and make the case and say like, oh, they should move on from Braden Schneider. Maybe teams would be interested, but I don't know who then plays on this really bad defense. And I think
Who's
the Capitals
playing now?
I mean, that's the thing. Like going into the year, that blue line outside of Gavrikov and Fox looked bad. You knew it that they didn't have a second puck moving defenseman. There were going to be issues. And then Fox is out and it's like, oh, wait, it's worse than you could have imagined, right? Like over this stretch, their expected goals against is a nightmare. And Jonathan Quick is not going to be able to stop that on a nightly basis. He's not the problem, but it's like you see how Shesterkin and Fox are like the glue that holds this really bad group together, and it exposes everything. And sure, you could try to like Washington Capitals this and go sell for the second straight year and try to quickly retool. But I don't think management hasn't earned the reputation to be able to pull this off and think creatively. And I don't know, like invest in young players and actually develop them. So they could sell all they want, but it's like, what are you going to do with it? And you saw how the Capitals took that aggressive approach and how it's worked for them. This group is going to have to like earn that reputation because it's not there.
Let's move on to some international news. And that is apparently, of course, the Olympic ice is just fine, even after a weekend when we hear that on a test game, there were holes in the ice and they're now literally ripping out the ice and replacing it in total because it's dirty. But we are mere weeks away from, and let's all remember, people, y'all keep citing the date the men hit the ice. The women hit the ice February, I think it's 4th or 5th. So this needs to be in place in 2 buildings. Sarah, are we buying the news that the league is just fine with everything that's going on over in Milan, or do you still have concerns for what the surface is going to be? We know they're going to play on it anyway because they want to play in these games, but what do you think about the state of things on the rinks?
I think it's none of my business. I think people are being paid to do this, and there are rich people that should have thought about this, and I'm going to let them worry about it, and I will see you for the Olympics.
Love that take. All right. Shayna, another bit of news closer to home, but a market that you're familiar with. Buffalo will host, I don't even feel like we should really call it a draft anymore, whatever the heck this thing is, but
I know.
Players being selected to play in the NHL will happen in Buffalo, even though no one will be there. Is this good news? I saw you say you like the vibe of it. And I personally love Buffalo in the summer. Seriously.
Yeah, I like the vibe of it because I feel like with LA to do it last year, it was just wrong in every which way. Like it was the wrong time of day. It was the wrong setting. It felt too formal. It didn't, if you're going to decentralize your draft, it needs to be an event that fans want to be a part of, right? Like that's the whole idea of teams are home and then you can maximize it for the fans. And I feel like the NFL has nailed it. And I think about the Detroit draft that they had, and you saw just like this like indoor outdoor venue they were doing it, and there were crowds of people everywhere having the best time. And so you need a very, very, very passionate fan base. Hello, Buffalo Sabres. You need a team, I think, that is going to have a first round pick, and I can see the argument for them holding on to theirs now. And, you know, would it help if it's someone that you're projecting to have a top 5 pick? Probably. There's going to be a little more enthusiasm there, but I don't think you can navigate that way because who knows, especially in the East, especially this year. But it just feels like you need to go to a market where the fans are so hyped about hockey and would be excited for something like this to make it an event. So I was thinking about Minnesota, and I know the World Juniors, the capacity wasn't what everyone hoped, but I'm sorry, it was in the middle of the NHL season. It's December. I think it's different when people are craving some sort of NHL news. A city like Montreal, like the vibes were impeccable there, and I think you could go untraditional and do, Nashville and make it a huge event too. but you need to make it that it's like it's interesting and it's more worthwhile for the fans and focus on that. And I think that'll come through more. If it's boring for us on TV, so be it. But I think you just need to make it that it feels like a bigger moment. So why not you're doing the combine there and then the draft? Like maybe it can be a little bit better, a little more interesting, and just a little more catered towards the fans, the people who are there and paying money to go to it at this point. Like I just think it was done so wrong last year. So I'm going to hope they can do it right, but I feel like if you don't do it right in Buffalo, then like you need to just scrap it all and figure out something completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And please, for the love of God, make it go faster. All right,
Please.
let's move on to another bit o news, and I'll let either one of you comment on this, whoever is most interested. No one's going to be taught how to Dougie anytime soon, because Dougie Hamilton is now apparently the real reason that Quinn Hughes didn't go to New Jersey. That's a joke. But Dougie Hamilton gets healthy scratched after reports start to come out that he refused to allow a trade to San Jose in the offseason, which would have freed up the funds to bring in Quinn Hughes, which everyone just assumed was a foregone conclusion. Meanwhile, you've got his brothers talking about how fun it is to watch Quinn play in Minnesota. The Jersey Devils have been in a tailspin until they won recently their last two games as we record on Thursday. Who would like to speak on the Dougie Hamilton of it all, who has every right in the world to sign any contract that a team wants to give him and all that that entails?
I'll go. The Devils, I was going to write on this and I decided to make it a concernometer. Like they inspired this and I'm up to writing their section now. And actually the Rangers were like, we're gonna big brother you again and jump ahead on the scale because we're so bad. So love that. Anyway, the Devils are it feels like they're such a fragile group right now. And it from the Quinn Hughes of it all, like, okay, everyone's upset this didn't work out. And it's like all of these things keep getting out. And then Dougie Hamilton's scratch, and it's like he to me is not the biggest problem in New Jersey. If you want to talk bad contract and bad on ice performance to match, like I would be focusing more of that energy on Andre Palat, who was brought in to be a playoff player and just hasn't been good enough in any which way. And while he doesn't make as much money, I feel like Dougie has been much more productive on the ice this year, and he's handled bigger minutes this season too because there's been injuries. So is he a $9 million defenseman? No, but management signed him to that. That's the issue. So now to try to like pressure a trade situation, it just feels so much worse. Like literally, we're talking about teams who are bad and spiraling. We just saw that happen with the Rangers, with Trouba, with Barclay Goodrow, and you see how it fractured the locker room even more. So I don't know if I'd want to go down that path and try to publicly play this situation out either. I don't think it's a good look for anyone here, and it puts so much emphasis on the player who had every right to sign a contract that a general manager offered to him at the end of the day. So winning a few games can do a lot for a team, but it just feels like every element of this Devils situation is more chaotic than it needs to be. And then like having Tom Fitzgerald sit down with the media and have a round table, it just feels like so cheesy to me when it's like just do your job. And like I get it, you're trying to settle things, but it's like just do your job and try to improve this team because you had a whole off season to address what the team needed. Like, I don't know, secondary scoring and didn't do it. And now it's like, well, actually, they need a new number one defenseman. Like, just why don't you focus on more pressing areas first and just keep everything going instead of creating this like media storm and chaos cycle that isn't helping anyone?
Oh, New Jersey. Do like the Jersey jerseys though. All right,
Oh my God,
Sarah.
I hate them.
I don't like the socks. I just had to stare at them for 60 plus game minutes last night. Sarah, this one, I'm going to start with you because I feel you're the right person to lead us to the balanced answer here. Maybe we need a new segment. This could have been filed under the shit list. In fact, we had a listener petition us to put it there. Maybe we need a new segment called No Soap Operas, Just Hockey.
Perfect.
But the Ottawa Senators, Linus Ullmark has left the team for personal reasons. In the process of all of this, some of his teammates have outlined that it is to care for his mental health, which he should absolutely do and take as much time as he needs. But then seemingly out of nowhere, and I'm not going to read it because it could have been AI, the Ottawa Senators put out a scathing statement about people putting out egregiously wrong rumors and reports about why Allmark is away from the team. This is followed by impassioned media availabilities, most notably from Brady Tkachuk, condemning things that are false and not true, and that everyone is standing together on the Senators roster. And meanwhile, as Ottawa tries to find their way out of a really bad hole without who they wanted to be their number one goaltender on the ice, just when we're starting to like them and feel for them and want to root for them to come through this, they sign fucking James Reimer to a contract. Sarah, there's so much debate about this. Should Ottawa have put out the statement? I was one of the many people who didn't know what the rumors were until I saw the statement. And then I found out what the rumors were. And now we have fans making counter statements, but then we also have players saying they wanted the team to make a statement. Walk us through your take on all of that. And then James Reimer, really? Question mark.
Yeah, I know where to begin. I'll start by, I think we disagree on this statement, and I think that's okay. I think I liked that it was an impassioned statement standing up for a player, because these days, how do we combat online bullying? There's no protocol, and I think just ignoring it has been the protocol for a long time, and it hasn't. I don't know. Who's to say if like ignoring it helps or hurts, because we don't really do anything else. So the team addressed it. Is it bad that more people know about the rumors? Is it bad that more people know that pieces of shit come online and make things up? I think people got mad that, like these said, pieces of shit that do not have a profile picture there's a reasonable response among reasonable people where it's like, this is the Streisand effect, where it does call attention. But then there was like a vitriolic response that people got mad that the club stood up for the player. And I'm like, you can think it's not the best way to do it, but there was just some really weird flashback, I was going to say.
Backlash.
Backlash from people without a profile picture who kind of post nasty things. And it's like, that's where I like that he made the statement, because he's saying, hey, you can't hide in the shadows. I see you, and it's disgusting, and you're not a fan of this team if you do stuff like this. And I think no matter if the rumors are true or not, the speculation online does not do anything. And I know that it doesn't matter if more people see it. Enough people saw it where the victims of the cheating, if that did even happen, or if it didn't, are going to be bombarded with comments, can't go online, can't live their lives, no matter what. So I think it's about the impact that it had on the players. I think the players came to the team and said, hey, can you fucking fix this? Like, it's hard enough. We're playing horribly this year. We're not having the standards. And then there's Allmark. He has had struggles in his life, mental health struggles he's been open about. And just, I can see he's probably struggling with something really affecting him, right? And like, if we really care about people's mental health, I think we don't exasperate bad vibes. So I don't know. It's all to say it's an interesting conversation about should people acknowledge this. I want to pay attention to the backlash and the next few weeks and how Allmark comes back, what he says, what he doesn't, to see if this was the right move or not. But I think it's okay if you didn't hear about it and then you heard about it by people. It's not like he was accused of a crime. So
right.
I think there's no shame. I don't know. It's a really tricky one, but I think I'm in favor of the statement.
Shayna, no matter what you think of the statement, no matter what you think of the state of the whole team, James Reimer.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, the choice. I get it, they need a goaltender, and I get it, they need help. And if the goaltending wasn't so unstable without Allmark, I think this looks a little bit different too. And it's, he obviously wasn't having a great year before he left the lineup either, but if we're staying afloat in net, like maybe it wouldn't be as many people jumping to make these like ridiculous situations to try to justify why he left the lineup in the first place. So it's like, to me, you see the Senators come out with the statement. I don't have an issue with it either. I think about the Corey Perry situation and how that spiraled out of control. And yeah, it's just stupid online rumors, but it trickles its way into a locker room. And it's like, okay, wait, like these are human beings. But then you go out and it's like, okay, you're going to do the right thing to support your players, but then you're going to go bring in James Reimer. And to me, that's like two polar opposite vibes.
Yeah,
I get it.
exactly.
Goalies are hard to find, but
But he's not even a good goalie.
that's
For
the thing. That's the thing.
for
It's
those who don't know, he not only like it's one thing, I guess, to
the ultra
I,
religious.
yeah, to be ultra religious. I don't care about that. You're allowed. My mom is literally a principal of a Catholic school. It's another to say that being ultra religious makes you against gay people, and he said he doesn't support that and didn't like wear pride stuff. Whatever he did, it was a lot of that, and that should be called out. And I don't like we don't stand for that, so that's why we're calling him out.
Yeah. And it just feels like I get it. You need a stopgap goalie, and he's played that role before. I mean, he literally just did for the Leafs. And it's like, okay, fine. But there are other players out there. And it's like the same point we constantly go back to of like, there's only so many positions in this league, and there's only so many opportunities that sometimes you just rather see it go to someone who has better moral than, you know what I mean? Like just a better upstanding person, especially when the skill isn't there to match. It's like going to someone who has the name recognition alone and it's for the wrong reasons on and off the ice. So it's just disappointing. It just feels like your vibes are kind of scattered right now in Ottawa. Like that's not what I'd want to bring into the mix. You're trying to like settle things and be like everything's okay. And I'm not saying he can't be a good teammate or things like that. Like I'm sure we'll hear, oh, he's been great and a veteran. We hear it all the time. Like we hear it from worse people, but it just feels like, sure, that's what you're doing. Great choice.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap up our Bits O News with an injury roundup. There's simply not enough time in an episode to go through everyone who's getting broken because of what this season is doing. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read through the most recent injury updates, and you can each pick one of interest to you, or you can abstain altogether because we're so over it. Carter Hart got hurt. We don't care. He doesn't count. We're not qualifying him in this list. Imagine not being able to leave a game because you asked for someone to listen to you and they said no. That's a shame, isn't it, Carter? Anyway, other injuries. Thatcher Demko, in a shocking turn of events, has multiple injuries and maybe out for a couple weeks, maybe out for the rest of the season. Who's to say? Kiefer Sherwood, the one most valuable trade piece for Vancouver, also hurt. Braden Point goes down with what appears to be a knee injury, is considered week to week. Dan Vladar, the goaltender for Philadelphia, leaves the game last night as we record with injury. Sarah, do any of these interest you, or are we just now trying to persevere and see who can last out this Hunger Games of a season?
Yeah, I'm interested in the like amount of injuries as a whole this season, but I think when we come back from the Olympics that I'm really going to be like, all right, like I'm interested in how this is going to affect the trade deadline, but I want to just worry about it all after the Olympics.
Shayna, any of these pique your interest, or are you, again, just there's been so many that we just now keep track?
Well, I think the Olympics is a good point too, because it's going to be interesting to see like how much it helps or hurts the players who do get the break. Like, is it too extended of a break? Could that create issues for players instead of just a week off for All-Star or, a bye week, or the players who don't get the time off? Like, curious about that. But just the Braden Point one, I think is the most like eye-catching. Like Demko, I think it's horrific, and I wish him the best. It's just the worst injury luck. But with Braden Point, it's like he came into the season, he wasn't having a great year. It felt like he finally was turning things around, and now he's sidelined. So obviously there is the Olympic element of it all. Like, does he come back? Does that help him getting those reps in? And then, like he rests now, gets healthy, gets to the Olympics, and that helps him for a playoff run, or, does someone else now step in? But the other part of it is, how long can Tampa Bay keep doing this? Because it is incredible how they have weathered so many injuries this year. And that's why, like, when teams use injuries as an excuse, like, I get it, the Leafs had a ton of injuries, or the Devils, it's like, yeah, but look at what the Lightning have done too. And I just kind of like, it's next man up there. This is a really big one. This is someone who helped keep things going while players were injured. So I wonder how they're going to manage this now. Like, it just feels like you could see them hitting a wall at some point, being like, this is far too many injuries. As good as the core may be, as much as Kucherov is, playing well, and you have Moser on the back end being incredible with Radish or Vasilevsky, like, does one finally push this team to the limit because it feels like they're elevating themselves above the rest of the East right now and really separating themselves just in terms of like on ice quality. And I wonder with this now.
We will keep watching. We will also keep watching the P-Dub. Abby Rock is certainly making herself known. She just incurred a 1-game suspension for an open ice hit. That was what, 1 or 2 games after she just took a blatant hit on a goaltender. Still love her though. We're getting closer to that Olympic break. And games are mattering more and more as teams are a third of the way through the season. So be sure to check that schedule and watch for the takeover tour games that are going all over the place. Washington, D.C. up next. And the Sirens will be playing at Madison Square Garden, which is going to be awesome versus the Torrent. But we have to move on. Here it is, my friends. The much promised. Shayna, why don't you tell us the exercise? We are going to go do this as a draft. I'm just going to say that. We're going to each pick. We'll snake draft 3 of this activity, but Shayna, explain to the people what we're doing here and how this came to be.
Okay. Heated rivalry. We're back.
You've ever heard of it?
Is taking the world by storm, and so many people are getting into hockey as a result, which is great. There are a lot of people who are helping fans get to know the game because it is not the simplest game in the world. There's a lot of things going on at once.
Shout out What Chaos.
Exactly. What Chaos is doing a great series of like how to get, how to learn the game, how to learn the basic rules. If you go through Chit Chat Challenge, Alyssa has a newsletter, No Dumb Questions, and it's just going through different thoughts. Greg Wyshynski posted his book, Take Your Eye Off the Puck, I think is the title of it.
Yes.
Really great primer on the game too. So all of that's really important, right? Because if you want to watch hockey, you want to know what's going on because hockey, there's so many things at once and it takes a minute. But there's like other elements of it. Like the NHL is not the most exciting league relative to say the NBA, the NFL, and there's not as much drama, but there's still a lot of hockey lore. So we want to get you up to date on some of the weirdest, wildest, most dramatic, most chaotic things to happen in hockey that like can help you get to know the other side of the game because honestly, heated rivalry, as much as it's about the on ice and what happens with Montreal and Boston along the way, the lore is even more important. So we're going to add to that.
So Sarah, then you took the idea and...
Yes, so we can't get to it all. Me and Shayna and Alison were kind of going off in this shared note, just like typing everything that came to mind, and that's fun. We can't expand on it all or get to it all, or this would be like a few hours, and there's some of it that just like we got to refresh our memory because this is all the hockey lore ever that we think would interest you or that like I'd want to know if I was starting out becoming a hockey fan. So we're going to draft as many as we can or want, and then I'm going to write about as many as I can for my newsletter, and that'll be up tomorrow.
And where can people find that newsletter, Sarah?
The Civ Report, civ.substack.com.
Go there, subscribe, support good journalism. So again, these are hockey lore items that we have come up with. This is very Too Many Men. If you want rules, if you want true hockey history, what are you doing here? That's not what we're about, folks. We're here to bring you the dirt. We're here to bring you the jokes that you need to understand when someone makes them so you know what's happening. And again, we'll see. We're going to start by doing a 3-round snake draft. So the rules are we can see the list. So we've got the list up in front of us, and we will pick which topics we would want to make at the top of our explanation list, knowing that Sarah's going to do the Lord's work and get through a lot of these, if not all of these, for you to read on her Substack. Go read, go subscribe. Okay, Shayna, since you are the originator of the idea, you get to go first.
Okay, with the first overall pick, I'm very excited to draft Brad Marchand and his Rat King shit. If you are watching hockey, you probably see he's a Florida Panther. Before that, he was a Boston Bruin, and he gained a reputation for not just being a really good two-way player, but for being a total asshole in the best way. And I've just grown to appreciate over the years. But I think back to a time in 2018 when he licked Ryan Callahan in the playoffs between Tampa Bay and the Boston Bruins. And it was incredible. And it was something that it was even funnier because he had a history of it. Like, he kissed Leo Komarov on the cheek before that.
Heated rivalry before heated rivalry was alive.
Exactly. And the quotes coming out, he was saying things like, "Oh, I thought he wanted to cuddle. I wanted to get close with him. He's cute. I don't know if he has a thing for me or what." And it's just that kind of Rat King energy. You get under someone's skin. Does he do things that are also dirty with like the hits and, all the physicality of the game? Yes. But for someone to just lick a player or kiss a player, and the reactions were incredible of like, this isn't a part of the game. And, the league was upset by it. Of course they were. It broke the tension in a different way. And I think when you see someone like Marc-Andre Fleury in like a scrum, here when he was a goaltender for Vegas, for Minnesota, for Pittsburgh, like tickling players' ears and doing funny shit like that, it was different because like he was the nicest player in the world. For Brad Marchand, he's doing it purely to get under your skin and just get you more mad at him. And it works every single time. There really is no one like him. I mean, he's still out here before the Leafs game talking about how he would have signed with the Leafs had he made it to free agency and things like that. So 10 out of 10 always. We love Brad.
Excellent. We love it. Sarah, you're up.
I'll also say Brad, like I know we can't talk about this forever, so I'll try my best, but Brad called out homophobes on Twitter before. Like he has no problem. He's not like, oh, you're gay. Like it's literally like he has called out people for homophobia. So we like that. I'm gonna take, and I added this at last second. I was thinking about the Ottawa situation right now. Ottawa Senators players caught talking shit about their team in Uber video. Do you guys remember this?
Yes.
Yeah, in 2018. So in 2018, you think the Senators are doing bad now. They were rebuilding and it was going horribly. Like they were the worst team by so many metrics, and it was a time in the league where everyone was scoring except
Matt Duchene was in there.
Matt Duchene was saying
Ryan Dzingel, right?
Yeah.
So were they in Arizona?
Yes.
Yes. Now RIP. They were in the now defunct Arizona Coyotes, and the Uber they took had like a dash cam, and it has their picture clear as day talking shit about their own team. And it was so real. It's like harmless tea, right? Because it's like, they're not happy right now with their team. And we never get to see, hockey players are so polished. We don't get to see them kind of like talking shit. They talk shit about themselves and their performance, but they don't talk shit about their coach or anything. So let me read you some quotes from this Uber ride. Here's another thing. We don't change anything ever, says Duchene. So why do we even have a meeting? I haven't paid attention in 3 weeks. Do you notice that when the coach runs the video, if you actually do pay attention, he doesn't ever teach you anything. He just commentates what's happening. We don't even slow them up. In practice, when we break out against guys, we get in every time. Marty Raymond, the only coach in NHL history to have the worst power play and the worst PK within a calendar year, Duchene said. And they go on and on about how much the team sucks, how like they're making fun of themselves, they're making fun of the team. And it was just kind of like the realest shit in the world.
That was, and then remember we all like, they had to go out and practice the next day. And like, there was video of them like going up to the coaches and apologizing on the ice. And like,
so funny.
All right. I am going to go a little bit more recent. And obviously it's front of mind for me. But I am going to go with there is a long and storied history on the women's side of people who are friends across teams, across countries, particularly when Canada and US play. But along the way, there have been beautiful relationships and marriages that have evolved too. And so I'm going to pick one, because it's the epitome and it's the greatest player, one of the greatest players to ever do it. And that's Marie-Philippe Poulin and Laura Stacey, who, when they were both on the Montreal Victoire, someone posted a goal and said, imagine scoring and your fiance being right there. And a man, shockingly, responded to the tweet and said, I don't see her fiance behind the glass. And they said, she's right there. She's gay, Marcus. So it's the she's gay, Marcus line. And there's merch out there about it. It's wonderful. I love it so much. But that's what it's going to be for me, is the relationships that have evolved in hockey. Again, we're going full on heated rivalry here, people. It's real. And guess what? She's gay, Marcus.
Amazing. Great pick, honestly.
Shayna.
All right, let's stick with the heated rivalry theme. I want to talk about the lore of Alex Ovechkin, because we know these characters are loosely based on Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin. And, you have two generational talents, two totally different players on and off the ice stylistically, all right? Like Crosby is this incredible playmaker, goal scorer. He does all of the little things right. He does the big things right, the clutch moments. And Alex Ovechkin is someone who is the greatest goal scorer of all time. But he has such an interesting history because you think of the years in the playoffs of like him not, he doesn't back check, he doesn't play defense. And you think of the different coaches. I remember there was when Hunter was the coach, right? Like it was like Ovechkin was creeping up towards his records and he wasn't playing as much. And everyone was like, oh, it's because he doesn't want him to beat his records. And I'm like, that cannot be true, but okay. But like he really didn't play well in his own zone. And then he finally wins a Stanley Cup and the celebrations were iconic. Like no one loves scoring goals more than Alex Ovechkin, but no one loves and Mark Stone I'd put up there, but like no one celebrates their teammates' goals more. That every time a teammate would score and he's on the bench, like the camera flashes to him and he's the most excited. And then their actual Stanley Cup celebrations were just incredible. They were hammered all over DC. They were diving through fountains. They were having the best time. And it was something like we didn't get enough of, honestly, in seasons past, like seeing, and also like the rise of social media helped, facilitate all of this. But here's this guy who gets a lot of shit talked about his game because, he's not as physically fit as other players, or he drinks soda during games and all the stuff with Ilya Rozanov and how he in the books, like he's big on junk food. It's like, this is the basis for that. It is Alex Ovechkin. It's just perfection. Like everything on the ice. It's so exciting. He's such a fun player to watch because of it. And he can score goals in a million different ways. I just think that is like the lore to know like who this character is based around.
Sarah?
All right. Take another gander at this. I'll do David Ayers and the concept of an
Oh,
ego.
that
yeah.
was so on my final list. Yes. Tell
And
this story. This is so good.
I covered the Hurricanes at the time, and it was the one game all season I missed because it was a back-to-back traveling to Toronto. So there's something in hockey called emergency backup goalie or e-bug, and this is a rule that's kind of like a hockey thing, like fighting, where this isn't happening in any other sport, and like it seems like it's like an institutionalized, like they're not going to change this. There's somebody that gets free tickets to the games that's in the crowd that if all of the goalies like on hand for one team go down, this guy he might be like an accountant, he might be like something, but he has experience maybe in college Division 3 or something playing hockey, playing goaltender, and he's like on hand to be the emergency backup goalie. So this guy was the Zamboni driver
For the Leafs.
for the Leafs, and he would practice. Well, he would drive the Zamboni around the Leafs. I think he's had
The
a few
practice
practices.
facility.
Yeah, for sure. Like with these players, they like knew him, and his name's David Ayers. And the Hurricanes goalies went down, and like they were already slim pickings. I forget exactly who they were. I know Freddie Anderson was in the picture there, maybe Peter Mrazek, but so David Ayers had to come in and play goalie for Carolina. Like knows the guys from the Leafs. And he was the first emergency backup goalie to ever win a game. And it was, of course, against the Leafs. And the Leafs are like the laughing stock because people care so much about Toronto. And Toronto like always drops the ball. So he won against the Leafs. And usually these emergency backup goalies are kind of like in the shadows or something. But David Ayers like wanted to talk about it. And it was pretty hilarious. And it was kind of a you had to be there thing where like you should rewatch if you're like really, you might not understand like how insane this was by just description of it, but like if you want to be immersed in the hockey lore, I'd go back and watch. Just type in David Ayers, Carolina.
I played. It's so good, and he's also the oldest goaltender to play in the NHL. He was 42 at the time. And he was wearing a Maple Leafs t-shirt under his equipment. He entered the game at 8:41 left in the second with a 3-1 lead. He allowed goals on his first 2 shots before stopping the next 8 on goal, along with recording 1 shot on goal to help seal a 6-3 win for Carolina. It is one of the greatest. I remember watching it live, and here's a funny story for you. So John Forsland obviously called that game for Carolina. And last year, the Kraken had an e-bug situation. And so as we're all hearing this news and trying to get ready to cover it, Forsland's like, I need as much information on this e-bug as I can possibly get. I have lived this life before. But it was so good. I love that one, Sarah. That's excellent. All right. I am going to go with, I had it here and now I can't find it. Which one did I pick? Oh, I am going to go because here's my new filter for my drafting is what are the references I want to still be able to make online and people get. And so I am going with Phil Kessel and the legacy of hot dogs and perhaps one of the best tweets of all time. So Phil Kessel played in Toronto at this point and was much maligned at the same kind of era that Sarah was just talking about when the Leafs just couldn't do anything right and it's everyone's fault. And Phil Kessel, again, is a player who is supremely talented, but I mean, he overcame cancer, but he never looked like, a ripped, super fit guy per se, but he could score goals and he played what was it, 1,000 games straight, even when he was that went into his time with Arizona. He had a super long Ironman streak. Mm-hmm. And when he left Toronto, a hit piece was written about him that he came down from his building every day and got a hot dog from a vendor on the corner, which was later turned out to be completely fabricated. So when he finally won the cup, he had a bunch of hot dogs put into the Stanley Cup, which was amazing. And then during, God, what was that stupid thing called? The Four Nations, what was it called? And he didn't make Team USA. And so Phil Kessel.
Oh, World Cup of Hockey.
And Phil Kessel didn't make Team USA. And this was a big snub viewed at the time, but this was during a lot of the Phil Kessel hate. And Phil Kessel's not a guy who's ever going to come out and defend himself because he gives zero fucks. But USA is losing. And he puts out a tweet and it simply says, just sitting around the house tonight with my dog, felt like I should be doing something important, but couldn't put my finger on it. So the lore of Phil Kessel is grand and glorious and should never be forgotten and should be referenced in tweets today.
I think that's a great pick right there. Okay. I like this, things that should be referenced online. So if you're ever on Twitter and there's a game going on where someone is scoring a bunch of goals, you will see Roosters tweeted. And it is because of Joe Thornton, who is a fucking icon. Okay. Joe Thornton, keep in mind, was MVP, in his prime. He was amazing with Boston. He was amazing with San Jose. But if you go back to 2013, October 2013, the Rangers were in San Jose. This was, if I'm remembering right, it was the beginning of Alain Vigneault's tenure, and they were awful on this opening road trip. If I remember right, the MSG was being renovated, so they had to start the year on the road. They go to San Jose. Hurdle, a rookie, goes out against poor dear friend of the pod, Marty Baron, and scores 4 fucking goals that game. And the goals were flashy. It was a blowout. And there were some criticism that Hurdle was showboating too much because God forbid you score a pretty goal and you celebrate it, especially as a rookie. We cannot have that in this league. Adam Oates, who was not involved in the game at all. I thought he was the coach of the Capitals, complained about Hurdle's showboating, which is just so rich. And Patrick Marleau on the Sharks is being asked about it. Joe Thornton comes up with the fucking quote of the century and says, "Shut up, have you ever played the game?" And then said, "I'd have my cock out if I scored 4 goals. I'd have my cock out stroking it." So a 4-goal game has been dubbed beautifully a cock trick or a rooster trick. And it is all because of Joe Thornton being absolutely iconic and supporting his rookie teammate Hurdle, who was amazing and is still a very good player. I mean, I love that reference forever and ever and ever. I love Joe Thornton. I love the energy he brings to a game. Any interview that you would ever see with him was just perfection. So it was a great way to talk about a blowout loss.
And
a blowout win, sorry.
It was also due to Jason Botchford, who RIP, love you's reporting, because it's like a boys club. Nobody wants to report. It was kind of a hush-hush thing, and he got a lot of backlash for saying what happened because, it was just overheard in the locker room. But no, if you are a reporter in the locker room and you hear something, you're allowed to say it. Jason Botchford is one of the guys who ruffled a lot of feathers. He was never afraid to say what had been said or what needed to be said. And now it lives in infamy and actually endears us to a player, even if it was oh, like you're going to get in trouble for saying that. So may his reporting live on.
R.I.P. We love Botch. All right. The Pravies is actually one of the first things I started reading when I was like really trying to get into writing about hockey, just because it was so, so good. All right, Sarah, for your third and final pick, you select.
Oof. I think I'm trying to think if you are a hockey fan getting into hockey, like what's something maybe under the radar you wouldn't maybe be able to necessarily Google, but would be like really like I don't know. I would want to know about. There's something the Bruins do every year. This has lived on for decades. It's called Behind the Beat, and every year there's like it's like a whole show, and they kind of started all of that. It's kind of actually incredible what they do. Yeah. So they did something that has never been done before, never will be done again, I think, if people are smart. And it's like Peter Chiarelli was the GM at the time. This was right after they won the Stanley Cup in 2011. Tyler Seguin, 18 years old, rookie. He was known to be a little bit of a party boy. Wouldn't you be if you're literally like the star rookie in Boston? He's from Canada. You're allowed to drink when you're 18 in Canada. And so he had been drafted. He's like, living it up. He's playing so well on the ice. Like it's amazing stuff for him, and having a good time. And wins the cup. Comes back the behind the B. He had gotten into maybe some. There's some rumors you can look up. I'm not going to give any validity to them or against them, but this footage of the entire front office led by Peter Chiarelli, who is now infamous for like, he's one of those guys you cannot get away from in hockey. I think he might even have like an advisor role right now. I don't know who he is advising to do what, but he has made horrible moves his entire career. And they had him, a video on him that they released to the public of talking about trading Seguin for keeping this guy Horton, who is great, but he was never the same after this back injury, blah, blah, blah. But like, it was a ridiculous move at the time. It was one of the weirdest hockey trades ever. And they released footage of themselves being stupid, deliberating, trading him. And it's the worst like stream of consciousness. It's just absolutely epic. Like just YouTube Tyler Seguin Behind the B, because it's just unreal that they let this footage out to the public.
But also great. Like
it's
also
iconic.
It's also great for all of us.
Yeah. Because it's like you think you want to give these behind the closed doors things the benefit of the doubt, and then you hear them talking about it and you're like, damn, they really like did not have any good reason for this.
All right. I will take the last of my picks. And I'm taking this because truly at the time that this happened, it was so seismic. And the date was June 29th, 2016, 12:34 p.m. Eastern. I will never forget where I was. I was literally, and I'm going to share this because it's so relevant to my personal experience. I had literally just sat down to get my nails done. So my hands are completely unable to be used.
Oh, no.
And all of the sudden, my phone starts exploding because of a tweet sent by Bob McKenzie. And this is the tweet in its entirety. Trade is 1-for-1, Adam Larson for Taylor Hall. And it was seismic. I mean, everyone was furious. Adam Larson was unfairly maligned for the balance of his time in Edmonton. But that was the player that Edmonton wanted, and New Jersey gets Taylor Hall. And it was just, do you guys remember that? Like, do you know exactly where you were? Cause I can put myself in the exact spot I was, like emotionally, physically, mentally.
I was in my backyard. We were kicking around a soccer ball because I had like a hockey net that we would use as a soccer net in the summer. And I would keep my phone like on the steps, like nearby. And it was me and Rich out there. And I would like run back and forth. Like, you know what season's coming up. And like, I was I was not writing about hockey stuff yet, actually. I had just graduated and I was doing like sports technology stuff yet. So like for me, it was just like knowing what's going on. I remember seeing it being like, this can't be real. And then stopping, be like, gotta go, running to my laptop to figure out everything. And the funniest thing too is Sarah's just talking about Peter Chiarelli, and his mess in Boston. He was the general manager of the Oilers at the time of this trade. And there are so many bad moves from his tenure, but I still don't know how you top this one.
Sarah, do you remember where you were?
I was trying to get my first scoop. I don't remember exactly what it was about. It was about Oscar Klefbom, and it didn't happen. So there, what have you? I was on my patio at my parents' house.
All right. Well, that is our 3 rounds of hockey lore. There is so much more on this list that is so excellent. I was debating about so many others that I would have loved to have talked about, but Sarah is going to continue to bring these to life. So again, check out her Substack. You should already be reading it on the regular. It'll brighten your week every time it pops up in your inbox. It doesn't mind. But we had fun with that. And if you guys have more submissions, let us know. We'll keep adding to it and have some fun. And honestly, if you hear a hockey reference and you wanted to have it explained, we're your peeps. Let us know. Hockey lore for all the things that aren't actually relevant to the actual game, but that you must know to enjoy this crazy sport. All right.
We had a hashtag for that, right? It was like Too Many Men Mailbag. Is that a TMM mailbag? If
We
you
did have that. We did have that.
Maybe if you do that, we can like check that more
Oh.
regularly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yes. Use hashtag TMM mailbag for that. All right. Let's wrap this up. Everybody's favorite game. We're running close on time, so let's get straight to it. Sarah, as is tradition, you go first. Are you ready for Fuck, Marry, Kill?
Of course.
Okay. Here is your topic. Which spiraling team do you want to take over as GM? Are you ready for your options?
Mm-hmm.
Winnipeg, Anaheim, the New York Rangers, FMK.
I'm killing the Rangers because you already tried everything. Now what? Like, what else can you do? Yeah, the vibes are horrible. You can't take these backsies. This one did it all. I am going to fuck the Ducks because, I mean, they're a young group. They still got potential. And it's like, there's two, like Carlson's disappearance and Dostal's struggles right now. These are things that are going to get better. I know they have problems with consistency, and that's been the thing every year. They got more consistent this year, and they could still turn it around. Like, the ship hasn't sailed yet for me on that one. I'm going to marry the Jets because I know what they need to do. Like, trade and acquire players. They don't do that. They're allergic to it. And for years, it's like, yeah, Connor Hellebuck has masked this. Now he's kind of struggling, returning back from injury. Every single time we've seen exactly what they need to do. It's like, have more depth. Just simply have more depth. And I think I could fix this.
Shayna, what are your picks?
Okay.
I love the confidence, by the way. Sarah's just like dialed.
Yeah, I'm killing the Jets. I think that years of mismanagement had led to this point. I feel like this team might be fucked for 8 years. I don't think you have the same spending power potentially as you might as with another organization to fix it. And I just think the others are more interesting. I'm going to fuck the Rangers. I like a challenge. I also have ideas on what they should do. I want to see if the Washington Capitals model would work for other teams. And you already sold once at the deadline. Granted, they bought players like JC Miller and saddled themselves with bad contracts. But I think that there's a way to get creative with this and try to turn things around. When you have a player like Adam Fox and Shesterkin, you should not be this bad. So if you can get creative around your core, maybe there's a way to make it work. I just want to see if I can do it. I want to see if I can do a better job, honestly, because I have many disagreements along the way of how things have proceeded. I'm going to marry the Ducks. One, they're in a weaker division. I think that's going to benefit whoever is in charge there. Two, if you get to be the person that finally turns things around and gets the Ducks back to the postseason, you are a hero. And who among us doesn't want to be a hero? Three, they have very good building blocks in place. They went through the bad years already. So yeah, it's a matter now of finding that consistency and finding the right supporting cast to go around your young talent. And I think we're seeing how to do this in today's game. Like the San Jose Sharks are doing it, and you're seeing other up and coming teams, how they've figured it out. So I think that one would be very interesting to navigate.
All right. I am going to kill the Rangers. I think they're beyond help. And the path through would be very, very painful. And I just don't. And also the owner would be a lot to deal with. I am going to fuck Winnipeg because I'm with Sarah. I think some trades need to be made. I think they need to start being bold and do a little bit more crazy things and shake things up. But I don't think they're completely broken yet. And I will marry the Anaheim Ducks for one simple and very pure reason, so that I can fire their coach.
And that
Hell
would be move
yeah!
number
That's
one.
the mic drop. That's brr, 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 brr. We need like an air horn. That's what we need. More noises.
I don't think I can be trusted with that one. That's on me too.
All right, my friends. Well, that will do it for us for this episode of Too Many Men. As the Olympic break nears, we'll keep you posted on our recording schedule. We will be taking our own mental health break and recharge break, but we'll be figuring out when we'll be back with you. We're still back until the season hits pause, but just be prepared. And if you would like to talk to us until the next episode drops, don't forget, we're on the socials at 2_much_man at YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. On Blue Sky, you just replace those underscores with hyphens. As Shayna mentioned, if you'd like to submit something to the list of hockey lore or have an overall hockey question, send us a post on one of those social mediums with the hashtag TMMmailbag. And if you'd like to rep Too Many Men outside of the digital space, which is honestly quite healthy, please get some merch at toomanymen.printful.me. And until we talk again, we ask that you please do something, no matter how big or small, to make sure that hockey truly is for everyone. We will talk to you soon.
Love you.
Bye.